Does anybody want to lead off?
Okay, so if I'm thinking about how I would respond if I had a client that handed me that letter, yeah, I understand that. That's fine. So what I was thinking about is what would be the constraints within which I would construct an answer. And so one of my personal constraints is I want to avoid having an argument or a quarrel with the client. I also, as much as possible, want to appear respectful to other professionals, irrespective of my opinion. And I want to shift the request or the intention from a fix this to a let's explore what can we find out about and discover that might give us some new options that would improve the situation. So in the light of those constraints, I guess I would probably want to acknowledge that it was the neurologist that suggested that she needed to retrain nerve impulses, and that I really don't know how to do that. But what I do know how to do is to help her explore what's possible and see if we can find some easier or more comfortable ways of bringing her back closer to a sense of being able to move normally or the way she'd like to.
Yep. Oh, the stick is going that way. Good. I like it.
Got one already.
Yeah, no, I got a talking blip.
Sorry, I haven't given.
That's okay.
I haven't got a great framework for this. I think the part that I liked about it was that he really did engage the difference between his thinking and what she had come with as a request. And I liked the way at the end that he reframed it. What the issue was how he, you know, the sentence he came up with at the end maybe was not so useful. But, you know, it was a very sort of concrete, I'm sending you away with a different way of thinking kind of feeling. Yeah, I would be asking her a little bit about her understanding of it rather than just being the dictator. I think would be my approach, but definitely turning it into a movement issue, a functional issue, rather than a theoretical, you know, what might be going on to cause that issue. And that comes up all the time when you're working with people with pain. They want to fix the thing. Yeah. They want the pain to go. And really it needs to be shifted into thinking, what would I like to do better? What would I like to be able to, you know, what can't I do now? And that he did start to go into, he got that answer. My balance isn't very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Basically the same kind of response. Yeah. I certainly know the area in which I'm competent. And if I get a letter like that, I know I'm not competent in terms of where to send nerve impulses. Just don't know how to do that. So to be actually honest with the person and let them know that that's the case. And then, so for Hazel, a person like Hazel, I'd want to make it really clear, obvious what we're after. For another person, I might go into explanations and make the distinction between what's an explanation, because an explanation is being offered. The distinction between an explanation and a want. Personal experience distinct from theory. What is it that you want? Yes, you might want nerve impulses to reach your leg, but you know, you have no idea how to do that. I have no idea how to do that. So what is the realm that we can both operate in where we can at least tell, oh, it's happening or it's not happening? Well, certainly, if you're asking for balance, you can certainly track, I'm feeling more balanced, I'm not feeling more balanced. That's easy to track. So with a request like that, if we can bring it into a request like that that's so definite, so easy to track from a first-person perspective, that you can sense it in yourself, then I know we're both in that same area where I have competence. That's about it, I think. Anything that you've reflected about?
I think this type of situation happens fairly frequently. That often when people come to Feldenkrais, they've been to all sorts of other people first, and they've been given all sorts of other opinions and explanations. So it is a useful skill to be able to acknowledge that that's what they've been told, and maybe even have believed up until now, but that we have to find that way of then being able to lead them into a different paradigm, to somehow find that functional possibility without getting into arguments and stuff.
Well, I mean, she's really good because she says, but I must have them. Yeah, she says, she's really clear, well, I must have them, and then he has to change shifts. So they do exist, we know. We know that neuroplasticity exists, yes? But to acknowledge it exists and go, okay, so, but what can we do together now that we can both sense that something has changed in the direction that you want it to change in? So do you know the direction that you want to change? And can we create a scenario with which to work? Oh, we've got a question coming our way.
What I think I'm doing is creating an intention.
Yeah.
We need to elicit from them what their intention is.
The intention, and
in a functional way.
In a functional and light and socially appropriate way, depending on the view and whatever, in a professional manner. But I think that clarity and the person going, yes, my intention, not what you are telling me, my intention, brings, then you've got the dance. You can't dance unless you're both standing
on the same dance floor.
On the same dance floor.
Yeah. So having both of us agreeing on what we're going to do now, where our intention and direction is a really useful starting place.
No, I like that metaphor. Yeah, you're on the same dance floor. You're in the same room. You're in the same space. You're operating under the same assumptions. Not one's operating under one assumption and the other one's operating under another. You actually go, yeah, we've agreed. We've made an agreement. We know what we're doing here. Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say, Jenny, when you spoke then about the people come to Feldenkrais after often having been to a lot of other places, it really made me think of the importance of us as practitioners perhaps in the future. If you get somebody there that's perhaps chosen all these other different paths first, to never, whilst they might even say to you, oh, I did this for 2 years, it didn't work, it was a bit of rubbish, to not then agree and say, oh yeah, even if you think that, because in a way it always belittles the path before, and that will always make them think less of you. So I think if you can say to people that, I was just trying to think of it before, what would be the right thing to say, but perhaps to say, well, what you did had value though, and it's in some way encourage them to think that you haven't made a mistake before, that everything's got value, and now you're here, we can learn. So I think that's, that just popped up, and I thought I'd wanted to say that.
I absolutely agree that not only are you belittling another professional, but you're belittling their choice. And, you know, we want them to feel good about whatever path they've taken, and any exploration will give information, even if it's the information of that's not the path I want to keep going down.
Well, I was just thinking, if you have someone thinking that everything that they've tried before can just be wiped out, then there's not much of a step before whatever you do today, if they don't like it, that can be wiped too. So if you just start with like respect for everyone and everything that has come, then they're more likely to have respect and have a bit of hope and interaction with what's happening now.
You know, online there's this product review site, and people post up their opinions on various products. Now, a word of advice, don't go to that site, because what people always report is the negative. So if you want to go looking for negative comments, that's the place to go. It won't give you any information about the product. What will give you information about is how frustrated and pissed off they are. So one of the nice things to affirm, I like this word, affirm, to affirm the process that we're engaged in. It's like, okay, so just for a moment, be mindful. Are you sure that nothing positive came out of that? Reflect for a moment. Something was there, but I can hear that you're frustrated. So let's keep that process going. So learn how to go, well, that worked. Oh, yeah, and that worked. And then that worked. And already you've started them on a different tangent to where we so easily go. Yeah, work.
I was just going to say, one of the things I'll often ask people, if they've been to lots of other things, is, so what, exactly that, what did you get out of that? Was there something there that was useful? Because I want to know that, because it gives me a lot of information about how they learn, what they're interested in, what they're looking for. You know, if they've been to a physio and they really liked the, soft tissue work, and they didn't think that the exercises did anything, that tells me something already, or whatever thing they've tried before. So
yeah, I can think of any of the helping therapies that you can think of, and I can think of examples where people have bagged it, and I can think of examples where people have praised it. It's horses for courses and timing, and also I think we tend to sort of praise or consider the therapy maybe sometimes higher than the therapist, and often it's the individual therapists themselves, for want of a better name, who can help that person rather than necessarily the background of the therapies as such. That's just how that person's got to that stage of being able to help another person.
Relationship's an important part of the process.
Being an osteopath, we are usually at the end of the food chain as well, the last therapist that someone comes to see. And the majority of the people, for the very first time you see them, just want to tell you their story. They haven't had other therapists listen to them and what they want and what they need. And a lot of the time it's just listening to find out with their journey, what has worked, what hasn't worked, where they want to go. And most people just want someone to listen to them. And if you give them the time, and then, you're actually trying to find ways for them to do what they want to do, they go away happy.
It certainly is. Well said.
Oh, we're not going to finish there. All right. Self-organising system. Yeah.
I have a question. In the Awareness Through Movement book in Feldenkrais, and as you brought up before, the question of aesthetics, and in the book where he talks about sort of a person in their sort of unity or wholeness, and all the parts coming together and being able to be sort of self-expressed, or always searching for an improvement in all the aspects and qualities in life. If that was his drive and that was his process, and the method itself is sort of geared towards that, then there he is at the end of his sort of career, and that's how he's choosing to communicate and express and be with a patient. I wonder, well...
The paradox.
Well, but is it a paradox? And is that what he's determined is actually the most effective and best way to... I'm not assuming I know better in 2015 with my advanced sensibilities I'm not assuming anything about that, but it's a genuine question. Like, maybe there is something about the way he's being, and because there's a lot of touching as well that's going on, and what was coming up in our group is that inappropriate? Is it patronizing? And I wonder, maybe there is actually a real self-realized sort of direction behind what he's doing there.
Yes. You should have seen him 40 years before.
Yesterday I made that comment and about what's one of the best trainings you can do as a Feldenkrais teacher, do actor training. I kind of believe that, because if I'm able to change my state in a way that serves the person, great. Am I able to make errors of judgment? Yeah. But this ability to have an idea of what might be needed as a way of interacting, and then if you can bring it out in yourself, because what does a good actor do? He makes you believe lies. I mean, you pay good money to go onto a stage to see a person lying to you. You're paying a liar. They're lying. They don't mean any of it. They're just telling you a big fib, and you're buying it. So, you notice if there's nothing inside you that actually can't be read as not being sincere, then the interaction is already shaping the environment where something can come out of the person that could not necessarily come out without that environment being present. Now, that is a hell of a skill. Now, whether he's doing that skillfully there, I have no idea. But as a general idea, you become a part of the person's environment. And for those individuals that like an expert and they want an expert, you start off as an expert and then you make them an expert. For those individuals that don't want to be told what to do, you sit back, you listen, you take it on board, and then gradually you telling them what to do. So can you see there's a dance? So that's why I said this is a canonical lesson, because he literally dances with her, but metaphorically, that's what we're doing. We're dancing with a person until we strike the balance. And you know what happens when you strike the balance? It just takes a little, what's it called? Like an Archimedean lever. You found the tipping point, and it just takes a little something, and woof, you've got a change happening. Yep. So, does that answer that question? Yeah. But yes, you see, I do want to end with that. I think it was Russell Delman. Russell Delman started off with this view years and years ago. What do people pay us for? Our attention. They pay us for our attention. in its fullness, in its absolute fullness, you have my entirety of intention.
Quality of attention.
Thank you.
In order to help me develop that quality of attention.
Nice distinction. Yep.
That was the quality of attention that Margaret was talking about.
Yes, the quality of attention. Oh, that was the oh, thank you. Okay, boy. And in that last lesson, that's kind of what you're giving yourself, right? With a particular aim, a quality of attention that creates whatever it is that you're putting at the foreground. So tomorrow we'll get to discuss a little bit about this direction of progress from the ATM book, because he has a definite direction of progress. You're heading towards a certain way, yeah? And you've already mentioned what that way is, so we'll get to talk about that more in detail tomorrow in small groups. Okay, now what we'll aim for is a 1.5 hour lunch, and we'll be giving FIs during lunchtime. If you have your lunch with you, please feel free to watch. If you don't want to watch, go away. No. Just joking. But we're here, watch an FI, watch a little bit, watch the whole lot, or just enjoy the rain. Okay. Yeah.
Very gentle outside.
All right. So we'll be back at 1:45.